Doreen Granpeesheh is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen. And we had a question that somebody wrote in and said, I am a single parent who has a child stuck in my bed.
Oh, yeah.
And they said, I keep trying to keep, I try keeping him in his bed, but the only way I can do that is to lay down with him. Mm-hmm. He goes to sleep, but so do I. Mm-hmm. If I get up and sneak out, he will follow me eventually into my bed, and I'm just too tired to fight at that point.
Yeah.
She said, but he is 8. I don't think it's healthy for either of us anymore, and the truth is I never get good sleep either way. Help.
Yeah, yeah. And there's, first, let me just say, congratulations, you've now come to the point where you've decided it is important to do something about this, and that's wonderful.
Yeah. Because
sometimes parents, and I love the way the parent has written this issue, because it is true of all of us. It's very hard to do something at night when you're exhausted and you're a single parent to begin with. Yeah. And so please don't feel like this is unusual. I want you to know that most parents go through what you're going through. And there are a few steps, and I don't want to lie to you, the beginning of it will be a little rough. So perhaps you want to do this if you can take some time off from work, maybe just 3 or 4 days. Including the weekend, so maybe you take off a Friday and a Monday or something, and then you definitely will have ample time to deal with this, because the body readjusts to new patterns within about 3 or 4 nights, repetitive sequences. And so the best way, there's 2 ways you can go about this, and sometimes parents choose to just kind of cut the cord, right, and put the child in their bed and leave. And the child can cry or complain, and no matter how many times they come, you take them back, and that is what we call flooding, sort of, and it's a very, sudden change in the rules. The way that I recommend is to do a gradual fading of what you've been doing. So let's say you're sleeping in his bed, or he falls asleep, and that will be like night 1. Night 2, I would suggest you put like a cot next to him and you sleep in the cot. And you can spread this out too, by the way. It doesn't have to be over the course of 4 nights or whatever. And night 3, you're still in his room, but you're going to move your cot towards the door, and you're going to sleep way further away from him. If he gets up to he won't be able to come into your cot. If he tries, you can put him back in his bed. And this is why I'm saying you should take some time off, because don't expect to sleep these few nights. You'll have some rough nights, right? Yeah. And so the concept is eventually you will now move your cot outside of his room. I do recommend that someone, whether it's you or whoever is helping you, spend the night right outside the door, because it is pretty common that our kids will wake up, look around the room, not see you're there, and then come searching for you. Yeah. And so that might need to be repeated a few times, 2 or 3 nights, where you're right outside. Child, if they come out, they don't make it to your room. Yeah. You turn them around, they go. You can even leave the door open if that helps initially, and then close the door. And essentially, you will fade yourself out this way. Now, there will be instances where your child will still want to come over to you. And it is important that you do not let that happen. Yeah. And you can do a variety of things. For instance, you can allow your child to have, how now we have monitors, and you can reverse the monitor so that your child can actually see you if they need to in your room, because that allows kids to calm down. Make sure their room is dark. Make sure they have access to things like music that might be calming, teach them how to use that. Make sure they have if they have any favorite stuffed animals or blankets, or make sure their room is heavenly, right? Mm-hmm. And that's all really, and you just stay with it. It takes a little while. Make sure you do not give your child a drink or food when they wake up, because when our kids get up and they have food or milk or water or whatever, that becomes an automatic pattern for the body. The body just craves something at that time, and they wake up, and the body wakes up. So no food or drink, it just goes back to bed, and no dialogue. Like, this is one of the things that I learned, there's this reverse schedule that we do for babies, infants, and you don't spend a lot of time trying to calm them down. You literally just put the child back down, say good night, and try to leave, or get in your cot or whatever stage you're in, but no dialogue at that time.
Yeah. I remember our pediatrician telling me, make sure it's not a party when he wakes up. Make sure, because then it'll always happen.
Yeah.
I didn't get it at the time. I think I was too sleep deprived to understand what he meant. Yeah. But I love your kinder, gentler thing. I will say that I think one of the things that we're bad at as parents is the very slow fade to something. But the thing that makes the most sense to me about this is that we always want to get to the end result, right? But that often isn't what works. And what I notice, because I don't even know if we're doing it this year, the daylight savings time thing.
Oh, right.
We might not.
Right.
But every day the light changes by a minute and a half.
Right.
But it's so gradual that we kind of just don't notice it.
Right.
And then one day we go, oh my gosh, it's dark so much earlier than it was. I noticed that the other day. I was like, what do you mean it's dark? It's 7 o'clock. When did that happen?
Yeah.
But when we do it by an hour, we all freak out for a week.
Yeah.
We're like, what's wrong with me? And it's because we've changed it too quickly.
Absolutely.
And it's fascinating to me that as a race of people, we can handle the minute and a half. We can't handle 59 more minutes.
Exactly.
So if we can just take that lesson and say, okay, so I'm willing to be in the process. It might be a month, it might be 2 months, where every night I'm gonna move that cot an inch further away. And it sounds ridiculous, like it wouldn't work, but the truth is,
it does.
You're so close when they get up that you can just put them back in and you don't really have to wake all the way up. And eventually they're tired too. They just go to sleep. So I love this advice, and it's kinder and gentler to do it this way.
Oh, for sure. And I guess we should say 2 other things. One is that I've done this with parents several times, and if you can keep a diary about it, it very, very, very rarely goes over 2 weeks. It's a process that if you do it a couple of steps every night, it's going to end. And it's well worth it, because as this parent wrote, it's very exhausting, right? And it's important for your child. Remember, when I try to get parents who are like, when your child is 5 or 6, it's like, okay, I don't have to deal with this. But it's wonderful that you're dealing with it at 8, because you don't want your child in your bed when they're 18.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And sooner or later, you got to deal with this.
Yeah.
So this is very, very good. The other thing I don't want to forget to say is, make sure that you do have a party in the morning if the child has succeeded.
Oh, good point.
To any level. So in other words, you can actually say to the child, wow, you were in your room most of the night. Like, make sure this is a big deal, right? Because the child needs to get a lot of reward for actually doing this. And I want to say, one of the things I love the most is when you see kids who are just proud of themselves, when you give them that reward and cheer.
Yeah.
And so I think it's super important to do that as well, and make sure the child understands that sleeping in their room alone is the goal.
Yeah.
And if they come to your room, it's not like you're going to be angry, but they're not going to get that reward.
Yeah. And I love that the mom identifies that this is not working for her anymore, that she's not good at getting good rest. There's a viral video out right now on, all the social media. I don't know if you've seen it, that it's a time lapse that it shows a mom laying in bed, and she's got a child who's probably like 1.5, 2, who is sleeping with her, and it shows throughout the night how that child lays on her head, is all over. I mean, it's hilarious. You sit and watch it, but then you really understand why all the moms that you see, all of a sudden we just look like 5 years older, and have bags under our eyes because we're
swear.
not getting good sleep.
No,
That's,
no,
You know, and
absolutely.
that child, like it's just hilarious. There's like a foot in her nose at one point, and she has to move the foot away from her nose. You know, we go through those years, but we can't sustain it. It's too hard.
No, it's very hard.
And then we lose our, we get sick, we lose our productivity. We're not really there for our kids in the way that we want to be if we're not getting good rest.
Absolutely.
If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.
To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.
Don't forget, you can watch Ask Dr. Doreen live every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time on autismnetwork.com. We hope to see you there.